Coming up on All About Android this week, we discuss the going rate for your face, according to Google. Also, the ASUS ROG Phone II. We've got 64-megapixel camera phone race in action. Mobvoi TicWatch Pro 4G review by our guest, Ara Wagoner from Android Central. Tinder swiping left on Play Store app fees. See what I did there? Your emails and more up next on All About Android.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of All About Android is brought to you by Capterra. Find the right tools to make an informed software decision for your business. Capterra is software selection simplified. Visit Capterra's free website at capterra.com/AAA. Hello and welcome to All About Android, episode 430, recorded on Tuesday, July 23rd, 2019. Your weekly source for latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
And from space, I'm Florence Ion.
Floating in space. How are you doing, Flo?
Oh, no, there's no gravity here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait. There is gravity here.
No, there's no gravity. You're just strapped into your chair, so you're not actually floating out of your chair. Also strapped into her chair, not floating out of her chair and floating in space, is our guest, first time to the show, Ara Wagoner from Android Central. How are you, Ara? It's good to see you.
I am doing good.
Yeah.
Wishing I could go get a Dole Whip and some fireworks right now.
Oh, my.
So okay.
That Dole Whip.
So how often do you see fireworks in a given week? Is this like a 3-4 times a week sort of thing?
Well, normally when I go in the evenings. I go for fireworks because by that point in the evening, it's either, okay, I'll go watch the fireworks and or I'll get Last Ride on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train or Flights of Passage or something, or Slinky Dog Dash over at Hollywood Studios. So yeah, I usually go in the evening around dinner time so I can maybe get one ride in, enjoy the evening, get some walking, get some exercise in after sitting around writing about tech all day, and then watch fireworks.
That is amazing. So for those of you who do not follow Ara on Twitter, first, you should. But second, you will soon realize that Ara is like mega Disney fan. And so you live near Disney World, which makes it possible for you to actually do your work and write stories from Disney World, which is awesome, I have to say.
It is the dream.
It is your dream. I don't know if that's a dream that applies for everyone, but it definitely seems to apply for you, and you've made it happen. So that's cool. I went to Disney World for the first time last year. We took our family to Disney World, and it was we had an insane time. We had 3 different days, each day spaced out, so it was like on, off, on, off, on.
That's it?
Well, hey, look, we were there for other things too. 3 days is what we could do.
You'll have to go to SeaWorld and Universal and go out to the coast and see the space.
And the John F. Kennedy Space Center.
Oh, boy. There were so many things that we didn't do, obviously. But we did visit family. So there was that.
Well, also spreading out the days is smarter because that gives you time to recover, especially if you do like one day all in the parks.
Yes.
Because for most people, it's either, okay, we're going to go in the morning, go take a nap, and then come back in the evening, or we're going to go all day and then we're going to need a day to recover.
And that's what we did. And, at the time, our youngest was 5 years old, so we needed the recovery time. Our oldest was 8 years old. So, and you know what? We need, like, as parents, we needed the recovery time too. It's not easy trampling through that place morning into the evening and then to do it all over again the next day. It just didn't sound possible, but
well, now I want to go to Disneyland.
I know,
Thanks.
Totally. Disneyland, Disney World. If Ron was here, he'd
I know
have.
it's not Disney World, but that's what I have closest to me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to go back to Disneyland. That was the best birthday ever.
Are you excited for the Star Wars things, or is that
Galaxy's
in Disney World?
Edge?
Yeah, there we go.
Galaxy's Edge is going to be fun. I'm hoping it's not as insane here after about a month as it was in California.
Yeah.
Since we're not having that reservation opening and they're not going to be doing fast passes for the first couple of months, so it's going to be okay, if you want to come to this land, you're either going to get up super early for the early magic hours, or you're going to stay up super late for the early magic hours, or you're just going to stand in line in the heat of the day, which I don't think anybody's going to want to do.
No one wants to do that. But
So I'm hoping that that'll space out the crowd and the lines a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know when I'm going to be able to check that out, but I'm definitely very excited to do that one of these days. Realistically, yeah, probably.
Yes.
Let's
fireworks over the Millennium Falcon.
You're going to go visit family again, and we're just going to take a day or two. We're here. We're going to go see Star Wars, and we're going to go see Avatar and Flights of Passage again.
Oh, Avatar Flights of Passage was so cool. That was so much fun. At the Avatar ride. Anyways, this is not a Disney podcast, but I loved our time at Disney World, and I'm just super psyched to have you on the show to talk about Disney, yes, but also Android, which is why we are here. So why don't we jump right in? I'm sure we've given you plenty of ammo, Victor. It's time for the news.
Well, I saw fireworks over the Millennium Falcon, which was pretty cool. Hopefully you can see that too, Ara. Here's Android news.
If you're going to see the Millennium Falcon, yeah, I know, right? It's like, oh, by the way.
Yeah, by the way, Ara, it's pretty cool.
if you got to watch some fireworks, you might as well watch it over the Millennium Falcon. Yeah. That's what I say.
So you have something to look forward to.
All right, Flo, you got the top news story.
So what's not cool is, having your face scanned, I guess. So multiple reports came out this morning, including one on ZDNet, that Google employees were offering to scan people's faces on the street for a $5 gift card. I don't know about you, but I'm always up for those Google rewards. So $5 given to me. But there were a couple of stories about this happening, some anecdotal evidence to go with this report. So in one particular situation, there was a man sitting in a park when somebody walked up and offered $5 for his face. The person said, "I work for Google, and we're collecting data to improve the next generation of facial recognition phone unlocking." So was given a phone in a thick case, model completely undetermined, to take selfies at different angles, purportedly to train the AI, or I guess to get enough data to train the AI. And then they were offered a $5 Amazon or Starbucks card. Now, some folks are pointing this model that is undetermined to being the next coming of the Pixel 4. And we have been talking about how the next Google Pixel 4 is supposed to introduce, some new face unlocking technology to kind of rival what Apple's been doing with its iPhone. And so this kind of aligns with the idea that this is all having to do with data collection for that Face ID. And in fact, there's actually a new screen panel leak for the Pixel 4, which reveals, I guess, is revealing a bunch of sensors in the front, which some are pointing to that being part of the Face ID structure. So it's likely also the Soli sensor that's being used for face unlock that is up there. And, we had talked about Project Soli being used as a way to unlock the next Pixel 4. Now, a lot of folks know Project Soli to be connected to moving your hands in front of the camera, but it looks like this technology could be applied to face unlocking as well. Again, this is all just hearsay until we have an absolute proclamation from Google themselves telling us what it is that is going to be in the Pixel 4. But it is the time of year where we're talking about what's coming up next, where we're sort of diving in to see what's coming around the pipeline. And I guess this checks out around that rumor mill. And just to add to the rumor, there's another leak that says that RAM in the Pixel 4 will be upgraded to 6 gigabytes. Not sure if that has anything to do with Face Unlock, but given the way that phones have been increasing in RAM and in memory these days, it seems to align with it. I'm wondering what you guys think with this latest rumor mill, because there's been so much coming out of it. And for me, it's been kind of whizzing past me. I'm just sort of waiting to hear what Google says. But is it creating any hype for you guys?
I think that RAM bump is significant if it's true, because the Pixels have actually been they've not been keeping up as much with the bumping up of RAM of recent years, because like the Pixel 3 and the Pixel 3a only have 3 gigabytes of RAM, I think, and most other phones in that category have 4. So them going from 3 to 6 would be a significant update, and I think would help with future-proofing and helping justify the price that the Pixel demands. So I think that would be significant. The Soli sensors excite me if for no other reason than the tease video for Project Solo that we first got years and years ago at this point was of them using their fingers to control music playback. And I just fell in love with that because the one thing I've missed most in this world since going away from my original like iPods is having the little click wheel and being able to control my media discreetly and precisely. So solely being able to do something like that would just be like a pipe dream for me.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that turns out. So I did some poking around while you were talking, Ara. The original Google Pixel had 4 gigs of RAM. The Pixel 2 had 4 gigs of RAM. The Pixel 3 has 4 gigs of RAM. So them actually finally upgrading is a big deal. The challenge there then becomes, well, are you already behind what other premium phones are doing? Should it be more than that? Because we're seeing a lot more phones coming out around the 8 gig range. And later we'll talk about a phone that's expected to come out next month that's pushing upwards of 12 gigs of RAM, which seems ridiculous, but then at the same time, I'll always take more memory in my devices.
Well, don't you have a phone? Well, you might not have the 12 gigabyte model. I was going to say, don't you have a phone on your desk that has 12 gigabytes of RAM?
Oh, well, yeah, no, you know what? You're absolutely right.
And do you ever think about it?
No, you're right. Like, I don't even consider like what the gains are of the 12 gigs, other than to say that the OnePlus 7 Pro is a fast phone. You know, do I notice a difference? Would I notice a difference between a 12 gig phone compared to an 8 gig phone? I'm not sure that I would be able to say, oh, this one's definitely faster.
Depends on the operation and the optimization. I will say more RAM probably eats more battery.
Yeah. Probably so. Yeah. But what are you doing with that? Are you multitasking, more powerful apps, whatever the case may be? So that's nice.
Games.
Yes, exactly. Right. So that's the RAM side of this. I think what I find so fascinating about this story, the face scan portion, is that we now have a price, at least we have a price of what $5. Google is willing to pay for your face. Like, this is what your face is worth to us for scanning.
I don't think it's that much. I want to say that 5 is the lowest increment they could get for like regular gift cards. Because let's be real.
Yeah, I know how much money they got.
We get photos of our faces in multiple positions away every single day if you use any sort of selfie app or photo filter in Instagram or whatever.
Yeah.
We give that data away freely. And I'm willing to bet that the reason that Google is willing to pay money is just like, okay, we're going to get standardized data for this, and we're going to be upfront about it. And so that means we need to pay people. This is the lowest denominator for a gift card that makes sense.
Yeah. And notice they're not giving out $5 Google Play gift cards.
I was about to say Starbucks or Amazon, which is like...
Yeah. Which are... You're gonna have a lot more people.
If you're walking up to a person on the street, you can't rely on it being something that is like, oh, Google, I don't know what that is.
Absolutely.
Oh, you can use it to buy a movie on YouTube.
Totally. Yeah. Way more people are going to have an Amazon account or be used to purchasing on Amazon than they are going to have that. Oh, and especially Starbucks.
Way more people want a Frappuccino.
Yeah,
Let's
Starbucks
be real.
and getting coffee.
And a Frappuccino is like $3.80 for a tall.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I don't want a Starbucks. I would totally take the Amazon, but I don't drink coffee.
Well, then there you go. But their Frappuccinos are really good, just saying. Anyways, I find that interesting that we now have $5 as the price Google's willing to pay for your face. Is $5 worth it from the perspective of, okay, well, what am I giving away when I'm giving you my face to create systems around and everything? I guess that's up to the person. You know, like, is someone going to sit there and read through? I'm sure they give you something to sign. And I'd be really surprised if anyone gets this and goes, I'm really going to read this top to bottom, because that's a lot of work to go through to get $5.
Sure it's a pop-up on whatever app they're using to collect this data. It's like, okay, before you onboard somebody, here's the flyer that they have to read through. It's just scroll to the bottom and click accept.
Yes. And everybody does it because $5. I can get my coffee paid for right now.
Gotta get to work. Keep producing. Keep moving.
Yes. Yeah. All right, so we've got that to look forward to. Huawei's OS called Hongmeng, I think we've talked about that name in previous episodes, was an OS that was originally thought to be a replacement for Android. Of course, Huawei's going through an insane amount of difficulty, dealing with the U.S. and basically, being locked out of the U.S. market in a number of different ways. And so it was posited that Huawei was working on an OS that we had heard about for years prior, but that made suddenly became more important if Huawei was not going to be able to use Android the way it was used to prior. Well, great. So it's working on its own OS that it can use to replace Android with, which, wow, that sounds like a big, that sounds like a big you've got a lot of, a lot of eggs in that basket if you expect that to work. A lot of things would have to go right for Huawei to pull that off. But Huawei is now saying that it plans to stick with Android on its smartphones, that this OS is not necessarily to replace Android. They want to stay with Android. They say the code base for its internal OS is much smaller than what a smartphone OS code base would be. It's intended for industrial use, things like IoT, that sort of stuff. And yeah. So do we buy
It's a more embedded system than an operating system.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what it sounds
That's
like.
a good way to put it. Yeah.
I buy it for their smart TVs and whatnot because I don't think that they would want to rely, because Android TV hasn't been that widely adopted, even though I love my NVIDIA Shield TV to death.
Yeah.
It's not doing
either
so
that
hot in the
or
numbers.
it's either Android TV, Roku, Fire TV, or build your own. So I think they picked build your own because they don't want to deal with Roku or Fire TV.
Oh, so you think it's a TV play then for Huawei?
Well, they said that.
Okay. There we go. I missed that detail, but that would certainly explain at least a component of this.
Forget phones. We're going to take over TVs
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
That'll work for us.
Exactly. But this does, if they're not looking to replace Android, this puts more importance, more emphasis on reaching a resolution that, includes Trump and the U.S. backing down on those U.S. restrictions over the long term. There's been a little bit of loosening, but they're still restricted. So maybe they think they're able to do that, or maybe they think this isn't going to last nearly as long, and that won't be as much of an issue.
I have a comment about this.
Yep.
My comment is that I would like to see more of these overseas phones come here, because every time my friends post them on social media, there are these beautiful phones with beautiful backs and like ombre
Those
colors
gradients.
and pinks and sky
Those
blues.
gradient
And,
backs.
I'm ready.
Sounds like you're ready too, Ara.
I am. I'm ready for more pretty phones. I don't
Yes.
want to have to rely on pretty cases. I want pretty
Give
phones.
me my
I miss
aesthetic.
the
That's
Moto
all I
X
want.
and all of those colors.
Give
And
me more color.
I
Life's
trust Americans to judge phones based on their value and on their worth. We don't need the government jumping in and saying, "Oh, we're gonna make it harder for you to sell these phones here."
Yeah.
No, let the consumer decide. We're a capitalist society, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Let them come.
So then, of the models of the phones that you've seen, like, do any come to mind of the phones that we don't have here
The
that
Huawei
kind of
phones,
fall
like-
directly into this category?
P30 Pro. There were gradients on that P30 Pro.
P30
I think there was
Pro,
a purple
yeah,
that I
that's a
just
really
fell
big-
in love with when they were showing it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
P30
pretty.
Pros.
And the one that's like, it goes from pink to blue, and it's just like, I've only seen it in pictures thus far, and it just looks so beautiful. And I just think about, if we got that kind of stuff in America, or North America, I guess I should say, I would love to see how the market would respond to it, because we haven't been able to respond to that sort of thing outside of our nerd circles. And this sort of embargo thing, whatever the heck is going on, it's limiting. And I think when we think of innovation, we think, innovation in components and software. We just need some design innovation, because I feel like it's getting a little stagnant over here.
Now, at
That's just my personal
the same time, Ara, your point is taken as far as okay, great, you can find a case that kind of fits your aesthetic, but you want phones that do. At the same time, at least from my perspective, I'm going to put a case on my phone no matter what. If it's like my daily driver, because I know me well enough to know that if I don't do that, it's going to die someday through dropping it. So to that end, a case might be fine because a case would go on it anyways, and its beauty would be covered,
great,
right?
But cases should be protective, and there are awesome ones out there. But I also want the phone underneath to be pretty too.
Yeah.
Pretty case.
Okay.
And
that's the other thing.
Okay.
Ara, is that we can't get any of the pretty Disney cases that are all like ombre and pretty colored because they're all made for iPhone.
Yeah. But this
Sing
is this Skinit? Yeah, this is a Skinit case. They have a lot of Disney cases. They have some for the Pixel 3a. I was surprised by that. Because usually if you want to get a Disney case, it has to be like a Galaxy or something. Oh. You can't get them at the parks, but you can find them on Skinit.
At some of the Disneyland areas, they have like things where you can design your own case, and it has like the
D-Tech
Disney
on demand.
Yeah.
Oh.
And they have some of the older Galaxies on there, but they don't have the newest one they have is the Galaxy S9 Plus. They don't have any of the Galaxy S10s or any of the Notes.
Okay,
yeah, there's like iPhone, and then other.
Interesting.
This is a big business. This is a big part of owning a phone. This is serious business, folks.
Oh,
I've got like 60 cases here in my apartment. I've got like 20 within.
I have a drawer of cases for different situations, different aesthetics. If I'm feeling goth, I have a goth case. You know, if I'm feeling like candy, I have a candy case.
Glitter cases. Glitter.
The problem is going through phones the way we do in this tech circle. Then you just end up with a bunch of cases for a phone you don't have anymore.
I'm thinking about an art project. Yeah, yes. I'm trying to think about like a way to do some sort of art project so that in like a future room of my house where I would like finally have space for my own enclosed office.
Oh, like mount them all or something?
And just like put something in the background, like as a like tribute to all the different phones.
Yeah, like
all
these
these
CD
beautiful
walls,
cases
but with
I
phone
don't want to
cases.
throw away.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I like that. It actually reminds me of, so there was this thing once upon a time called AOL, America Online.
Yes.
And in the mail, you would get all of these CDs sent to you, these CD-ROMs, and people would collect those, and they would make art out of those too, because why the heck not? We're getting them. We might as well put them to use.
The other thing I want for cases is a good way to recycle them, because there's all these places to recycle your phones, but they all say, we don't want your case. Your case is probably old and nasty. Throw that out. But those are plastic. You don't want them going in a landfill.
Totally. And that's kind of what I was
Goodwill
alluding to a few minutes ago.
By the way,
really?
Goodwill takes cases for all phones, and they sell.
Really?
Especially in the suburbs, because people have very many different kinds of phones in the suburbs.
That is a good tip. I'm going to remember that.
I got to remember that.
Yeah, we'll remember that. Apparently you can go to Goodwill and find a case for your old phone. All right, Flo, you have the next story.
This one is fun. Since we're talking about fun, artsy things, let's talk a little bit about emoji. And as you know, Google's been pretty darn good at keeping up with the new emoji coming forth. So last week, Google's creative director of emoji announced 65 new glyphs being added with Android Q. They include ones like the sloth, the otter, the delicious waffle, and my personal favorite being that I am a descendant of vampires, garlic, which probably shouldn't be a favorite of mine, but it is for some reason. Anyway, garlic is really good for you.
I'm really surprised garlic wasn't there. That's one of those that I've just assumed would have been there all along.
I mean, it's an international flavor.
Yeah.
There's also a couple of emoji featuring couples with varying skin tone combinations. And there's also an emphasis on gender inclusiveness. Ara actually published a walkthrough on how to tap into the emoji using Gboard and SwiftKey. All right, you want to give us just a quick little rundown about your article and how people can get these new glyphs on their phone?
Well, it was more of a general how-to of how to access emoji on your phone if you haven't been using them already, because, I mean, it's just as easy as opening your keyboard and hitting the little smiley face. And then it'll bring all of them up for you. But for the emoji that are included, I don't know what it is. I'm not as excited about them as I should be, probably.
Emoji fatigue.
A little bit, and also just because emoji is one of those things that if you have, because they talked about these 64 new emoji, even with Emoji Compat, with the API that they have right now, most of these phones aren't, most Android phones aren't going to see these new emoji for months, if not years, because emoji is still tied to the Android system. So you have to wait forever and forever and forever for it to get updated with an Android system update. I was really hoping emoji would be part of Project Mainline, and I don't think it is. But also, it doesn't help that for emoji, they are wildly inconsistent between keyboards and between different apps. Because like for emoji implementation, if you have a Samsung phone, your emoji look different from if you have a Google phone. And your system emoji are going to look different when you try tapping them in Twitter. So it's one of those things that I wish it would get better, and I wish it would get better overall, because on iOS, even if you use third-party emoji, it's usually not that much of a problem. Like, I play Disney Emoji Blitz, and the keyboard for Disney Emoji Blitz on Android is complete crap compared to the one on Apple, because on Apple, it's just tied into the main iOS keyboard.
And on Android, it's its own keyboard with the emoji built into it instead of looping in the emoji set.
Oh, it's its own keyboard, and there's no QWERTY input on here. It's just you have to switch to this keyboard for your emoji and then switch back to the other one, even though this is basically stickers.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But I love it.
Don't get me started on Samsung emoji.
But I just love it because I get Disney emoji from the only mobile game that I play, which is Disney Emoji Blitz.
Nice. I don't know if I've ever played that game.
Think Bejeweled, but with emoji that you unlock in a keyboard instead of just mindless scores.
Awesome.
I was going to say, this is a really important part of being a phone user that I feel like we don't talk a lot about, because as exciting as it is to get like all this new hardware and all these new apps, like it really is your phone is your daily carry. It is your daily companion, and you want to customize it to your absolute, like however you absolutely want it to look. And so as much as Emoji Compat was supposed to help some of that adoption for the new glyphs, it's still going to be a while before a lot of folks are able to use these in everyday vernacular. And anyway, and that's the other thing, is emoji have become a part of just communicating. I mean, everybody's using them, old, new, young. Yep. It's part of our dialogue now. As a society.
It's true. More pictures, less words.
Well, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and
true.
We're all about conserving those words for when we need them.
That's true. I only use, well, not only is the wrong word. I use more emoji now than I have, but I definitely use it when I'm typing out a word and then suddenly in the little autocomplete, the picture appears instead of the word. You know what I mean? I'm more likely. That was the most
important part of that how-to I wrote was, oh, hey, here's how to access emoji. But more importantly, here's where to turn on the predictions. That way you don't have to go hunting for them.
Right, because then I'm not thinking like, oh, I want to go find this emoji and blah, blah, blah. I'm typing the way I normally would. But if the picture appears and I'm feeling playful or I want to just put that in, it's usually like a spur of the moment decision. Like if I'm going to use the rocket ship picture, or I'm just going to say rocket ship. But anyways, if it's presented there, then I can just tap it and move on and feel like I'm part of the emoji world. Otherwise, I'm not. We have an email from Fred Dunnier. I think I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. Says, your discussion about touching a screen while driving agitated my pet peeve. I'm sorry about that. The lack of integrated voice response in Android apps. I would love to be able to say Pocket Cast, Advance 30 while driving, or Evernote, Find My Notes About Mary, or GoodRx, where's the cheapest Viagra? And have a phone respond, but it doesn't. Google has an awesome voice recognition engine. Why isn't being used inside apps to make it less necessary to touch the screen? I realize the apps have to accept voice input, but it's just a different hook to the same functions. Has Google made the APIs available for developers? In my opinion, this should be on Google's front burner as a user experience improvement and product differentiator. Ari, you have a note on this, which I think
I do, because I love Android Auto, and I love like the moment they added Google Assistant to Android Auto, that was when my life got easier, because that meant that instead of having to rely on the crap voice recognition that the car already has, I can rely on Google. And that's the only reason that the voice command button on my CRV gets any use at all, is I trust Google Assistant to get my words right. And for a lot of apps on Android Auto, such as Google Podcasts, Google Play Music, YouTube Music, it was working, but it isn't right now. I don't know what broke it, and I'm really hoping it gets fixed soon. But for Google Play Music and for Google Podcasts, if you hit the Google Assistant button and say fast forward 30 seconds, 90 seconds, then it'll fast forward as you want it to. And when that started working, I think it was about 2 years ago, I was so happy. I almost cried the first time it worked in the car. Because that was just one of those things that is like, oh, when you're driving for like 3 or 4 hours by yourself, you can't lean over every time you want to tap every time you want to hit the next track, or every time you want to fast forward or rewind or whatever. Yep. So it's one of those things that it really does improve safety.
It does.
And I really wish that more apps used it, but it is there. It's just a matter of whether or not it's being implemented evenly, and whether or not Android Auto is recognizing it on a per app basis, or if it's something that's generic.
And whether you know how to wake it or not. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of have to know the syntax that applies to these voice commands, which on one hand makes sense, but on the other hand, when I look to like my idealistic future world in which, you know, computers understand humans better than they do now, it wouldn't be as much about syntax as it is right now. Voice commands, you really have to follow a certain syntax in order for it to operate. Google has made things better. Like with the Google Home, they've definitely improved things for it to kind of parse your language and understand things a little bit deeper. But sometimes, like, I don't want to have to think about the right way to phrase this app doing this particular thing.
I want to talk to it like a friend.
I want to talk to it like, exactly. You want to talk to it like a friend and have it understand and go, oh, this is what you meant. Okay, here you go. It's getting better, but it's not perfect.
I said, hey, G, what was it that you said the weather was going to be like tomorrow?
I'm sorry, I can't help you with that.
And it thought I asked about rain for some reason.
Yeah.
Which is not a question I often ask here in drought-ridden California. But that's how I want to talk to it. I want to be able to say, like, you know, I'm also finding, just on that Android Auto link, I'm also finding that it's difficult to get Google Maps to help me while I'm driving, to help me find something on the way.
Yeah.
Because it will go by mileage, and sometimes it'll count something. Like if I say, help me find the nearest gas station, it'll find a gas station that's like 3 exits behind me.
Oh, I hate that. Yes, that's the worst.
I need you to find something like on the route.
Yeah.
I mean,
in front of
there's
me.
a lot of ways it can improve, but
Totally.
It is better than nothing.
Yeah, that's true. If we could go back in time in the days of Android yore and give our earlier selves the current functionality, we'd be like, whoa, this is the future.
Hey, we used to use MapQuest printouts to get around, okay? That's how we used to get around. Yeah. That was not safe.
Oh, I remember.
That was before my time.
that would explain the look of disgust.
Streets. I've gone down the wrong way back in like the heyday of MapQuest because I did not know San Francisco. I'm
in a hurry. I've got to get there. Where am I going? Pull it up on the computer. Okay, there it is. Hold on, I have to print it.
Exactly.
Okay, pages of ads. Oh, there's the map. Okay, there's the directions split between two pieces. Yes, it was fun. It was so much fun.
How far?
I will say another safety issue that I wish that worked better for Android Auto and Google Maps is sharing your trip progress with somebody. Because right now, if you're sharing your progress through Android Auto, you have to use taps. Right now, I think you have to use taps, or you can only share it with one person. Well, I think they might have added the voice command for it, but you can only share your progress with one person. And normally when I'm going on a trip, like say if I'm driving between one city and another, I don't just send the progress to one person. I send it to like 4 or 5. Like I'll send it to my parents and my twins so that way they can check, oh, she made it home on time and she didn't crash while she was on her way home from Disney at 1 a.m.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's one of those things that it's a public safety thing, and I wish that was better implemented, because right now you have to not only pull over, you need to unplug from Android Auto and send your progress in Google Maps and then plug back into Android Auto.
Yeah. kind of defeats the purpose.
It does.
I feel like we could put together a whole reel of things that we should fix on the Android Auto.
Yeah, we should fix.
Well,
let's fix it.
And the thing is, it wouldn't be that useful to write it now, since Android Auto is going to be getting significant changes later this year.
Yes. I suppose we'll wait and see then.
We won't a separate driving mode.
We won't go about fixing Android quite yet. We'll fix Android soon, but just not right now.
In due time.
We will. All About Android will. And Ara. Okay, let's take a break and thank the sponsor, and then we will get into some cool hardware news today. We've got a lot in there. This episode of All About Android is brought to you by Capterra. Capterra is all about finding the right software for your business, for your specific business needs. It can be complicated if you tried to do this by not using Capterra. But of course, it doesn't have to be, because Capterra puts thousands of real software reviews right at your fingertips. It makes it a whole lot easier. They are the leading free online resource to help you find the best software solution for your business. Capterra has over 950,000 reviews of products, with 30,000 fresh reviews available each month. And you can discover everything that you need to make an informed decision. So you can search more than 700 specific categories of software, anything from CRM to IT project management, e-commerce, link management tools. There's web conferencing, a whole host of categories, 700 of them to be almost nearly exact, just to name a few. Once you choose a category, you can filter results by product rating, users, deployment, and features, and then you can compare them side by side up to 4 at a time. So you can kind of narrow down the list, compare these next to each other. They'll even show you a list of related categories for further options, and then through those, you can kind of dive in and maybe play around with a few of them, see if they satisfy your specific business need, and go from there. And I'm telling you, go in there and take a look at all these categories. It runs deep how specific some of these categories can be. You might have a very specific type of business and you just didn't even know that there's a software solution that can help you manage this. Well, Capterra is a great place to find it. No matter what kind of software your business needs, Capterra makes it easy to discover the right solution fast. And once you find that perfect software, remember to leave a review and share your knowledge with other buyers, because knowledge is power, and you're helping the Capterra community find what they need to find when it's their turn. So check out Capterra's free website. You can visit capterra.com/AAA, and you'll join the millions of people who've used Capterra to find the right tools for their business. That's capterra.com/AAA, capterra.com/AAA. Capterra is software selection simplified, and we thank Capterra for their support of All About Android. And we might as well jump into the first type of hardware, because later we'll have the second type.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Something wearable coming up. But first,
but not yet.
A gaming phone.
Very powerful gaming phone. Yeah. So if you are a fan of gaming, you might know ASUS's ROG line, which stands for Republic of Gamers. Gamers. That's an echo that I was doing.
Yes.
So they just unveiled their new ROG Phone 2 after a few weeks of teasing it online. So this is the first phone with a 120 hertz OLED screen. When my husband heard that, he was like, whoa, you can get phones with 120 hertz OLED screens now. And I said, yep.
Read it. Read this.
Yeah. So this is not a variable refresh, but the refresh can be set on a per app basis. So you don't have to use it the entire time if you want to just use it when you're gaming. This is also one of the first phones with the new Snapdragon 855 Plus. Other specs, it's got an optical in-display fingerprint sensor, which is all the rage these days. 12 gigs of RAM, again, going up high with the memory. 512 gigs of UFS 3.0 storage. That's that new ultra-fast storage. 3D vapor chamber for cooling, as well as vents on the backside. So a lot of inspiration from its gaming PCs. 6,000 milliamp battery with a 30-watt fast charge, which is quite incredible. Air trigger buttons. improve vibration. So there's they claim a 68% reduction in latency, and apparently 3 times stronger than the OnePlus 7 Pro, which, if you remember, was also a phone that's kind of vying for this particular market. XDA says this is without a doubt the most powerful Android phone on the market right now, at least in terms of specifications. The China model is on sale today, and pricing and availability outside China is kind of unknown right now, which is a bummer for anybody who, speaking of phone design, I mean, if you're into the, as we were talking about aesthetics today, into the gamer aesthetic, like this would fit in with the whole.
This one looks so much better than last year's. Last year's was 100%
agree.
Looking and butch looking, and this one actually looks sleek, a little bit refined.
Yeah, I was going to say refined. That's a good word. Although, look at the camera. It's just funny how everything is usually so very symmetrical on devices, right? Everything's rounded, symmetrical corners and everything. The camera, like that one edge is like a short 45-degree angle. The right side, it's like an arrow. The top is a square. It's like their design team was like, whatever.
Circa 2003. I was definitely using a lot of lines like that.
Yeah. I will say, I don't think this is the first phone with 120 hertz refresh, because the first and the second Razer phones had it as well.
You're right. I realized that after I had said it.
Well, yeah, so I read that in I think it was the XDA article had mentioned that, so I didn't catch that.
But I got to say, it's got to be anything over 60 hertz just has to feel buttery smooth, because the OnePlus 7 Pro has 90 hertz, and even that looks and feels like silky smooth sometimes. So I don't know how high the refresh rate needs to be, but having it that high can be a power drain for sure, but also just looks so pretty. So pretty.
I mean, it looks great on PC. Like, putting that on a phone, I mean, that is a phone that you just want to stare at all the time. I want to stare at it when it's on a PC. So
here's what it is. It's the first 120 hertz OLED screen. OLED.
Okay. Right.
So that's the
Razer
differentiation.
Was doing it in 2017. Yeah.
I don't know what the Razer display was, whether it was an OLED. It sounds like it was not an OLED, so I'm wondering what it actually was.
Maybe IPS or something?
Yeah, it might have been. Anyways, at least that's what the article pointed out. I could spend more time searching, but then this would be a show where I'm just searching things. That wouldn't be fun. So if you know differently, write us, AAA@twit.tv. There we go. So what do you think of these gaming phones and like these just totally decked out devices for playing games? Do you like the trend, Ara? What do you think?
I mean, it's way more than I need for Disney Emoji Blitz. I just need a tall phone with battery for days. But for Wizards, I will say I've been playing Wizards Unite in the park because, I mean, there's just tons of places to get extra spell energy and get ingredients for potions. But it's a battery hog. So anything with more battery and a really pretty screen is good news for me. But at the same time, I wouldn't, since I'm not like, gaming is probably pretty low on my list of priorities when I'm buying a phone. I probably wouldn't consider the ROG phone as opposed to the OnePlus 7 Pro, because the OnePlus 7 Pro is a great looking all around phone where it does get great gaming on the side. Whereas your ROG phone is made for people who like play the crap out of Fortnite and PUBG Mobile and all these other things. Yeah. And I'm not that hardcore.
Right.
I just want to do my match 3 game and then get back to Twitter.
Yeah, this might be a little overkill for your match 3. It does sound like the Razer phone was LCD. Oh, it was an IPS panel. So that's what it was. 120 hertz IPS LCD.
I also want to add real quick, just because I have been spending a lot of time this summer with gaming PCs and getting back into gaming myself. I've been wanting to buy a gaming laptop for a long time now, to use both like a power machine and to have for gaming. I feel like the smaller this technology gets for smartphones, like it may just be for a very enthusiast audience right now, but this bodes well for us down the line, because this could really help. It's shrinking the components, it's shrinking the hardware and making it so that it's more accessible on, different sizes. it's making the technology more dynamic so that you don't have to just think of it in terms of it's in a PC. Someday, who knows, we could be having like tablet-sized laptops of sorts that can power up your favorite Steam games, and that's kind of incredible.
We'll just be running all of our games in the cloud like Project Stadia.
I'm just hoping for a point where with Linux app implementation, you could run a Steam game on a Chromebook. That's all I'm hoping for at this point.
Stadia.
Yeah.
Stadia will be the solution for something like that, possibly. Let's see here. Xiaomi posted a photo sample from an upcoming smartphone, an upcoming Redmi smartphone, clocking in at a cool 64 megapixels. Apparently, Xiaomi thinks that the megapixel race is the next generation of cameras on smartphones. The picture shows a cat with a close-up of the eye, kind of broken out, that shows all the detail, the fur and the eyeball. It's actually really impressive to look at. Of course, anytime a phone company posts a photo and says, "Hey," and alludes to it, I'm just always suspicious. Huawei has had a couple of times where they post something and then it's been discovered later that it was done with like a DSLR, and those kind of things have happened enough times that I'm always just a little suspicious. Like, okay, maybe technically, but what else have you done to this to make it look like that? But anyways,
just give the camera to me and let me go to Disney World. I will test the heck out of it.
Yeah, are you listening, Xiaomi? Seriously.
I mean, that's the place to test it.
Yeah, it's like, you want to test your low light, take pictures of the night. Don't go take pictures of the fireworks.
Yeah.
You want to test how it does with action shots, try and take pictures during a parade with all of those dancers going by.
Or take a picture while you're on a roller coaster. No, don't do that. That's a really bad idea.
Please don't do. Well, I mean, there's a lot of people who do. Well, that's a great way to test video stabilization.
Oh, yeah. Good point. But still, make sure you're holding onto that phone really, really well.
Make sure you got a phone grip.
Yes.
Always got to have a grip.
Well, wait a minute. Is your grip? Oh, okay. So that's not like a pop socket.
No, I have those too. I test a lot of different phone grips. This is the one from Spec, actually. This is one of their grab tabs.
Oh, okay.
So I like it. It's kind of flat.
Yeah.
So it makes it easier to pull it in and out of the pocket.
Yeah, a little more
It's bigger than most of the other ones, though. So that might be a turnoff for people who have like decorative cases.
Totally. Yeah, interesting. I hadn't seen that type before. Xiaomi is not alone in the 64 megapixel race. Realme has teased its own 64 megapixel premium killer last month. Samsung's upcoming A70s will supposedly feature a 64 megapixel camera using its already announced 64 megapixel ISOCELL Bright GW1 image sensor, which could possibly be the sensor that would be in the Xiaomi phone, the Redmi phone. So who the heck knows?
Are we going back to those Lumia race days where it's just like, okay, what insane number can we put in a camera?
Yes, that's kind of what it sounds like. That's what it reminded me of. It's like, all right, cool, 64, now 128. Yeah, what do you think about that? You're going to need a 1 terabyte drive for every picture that you take.
Yeah, Google Photos will shed those photos alive.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, Flo, you got the next one.
Well, maybe all that megapixel war is a response to the fact that there's just so many different cameras on phones now, including the upcoming Note 10s. So next month is Note month for Samsung fans. We can expect, WinFuture has some detailed specs on what we can expect next month, both a Note 10 and a Note 10 Plus. So there will be 2 Note 10s when the event is held next month in New York City. The Note 10 Plus will include a 6.8-inch display with minimized bezels, keeping that body roughly about the same as the Note 9, so still very big. Centered Infinity O cutout.
Sorry, got a little duplicate there. Sorry about that.
No worries. And that display, by the way, is an AMOLED display. Inside, there's also a Snapdragon 855 Plus. We were just talking about that. Or if you're overseas, you may have access to the Exynos 9825, which is a 7-nanometer processor. Holy crap, they are shrinking those things.
Yeah, they really are. It's crazy.
It is very interesting where we're going with those sizes. It'll be available in 8 or 12 gig of RAM configurations with 256, 512, or 1 terabyte of storage, which the Note, as you know, is very kind of a professional power user phone. So it really makes sense to kind of like push up that storage ability. The rear cameras, as we were talking, there'll be several. So a 12 megapixel wide plus a 16 megapixel ultra wide plus a 12 megapixel zoom plus a depth vision TOF sensor.
Time of flight. Time of flight.
Time of flight. So 4,300 milliamp battery to help charge that with 45 watt charging. UFS 3.0 file storage again. S Pen with Air Actions gestures, which were introduced in the last note, in actually two notes ago, or was it the last note?
It was 2 or 3. The thing with the pen for the last time, the thing with the pen last year was that it was a powered pen.
Right, and you could like take a picture when you're away from your camera or whatever. This is like gestures over the top of your phone with the pen not on it. If I understand the rumors. So kind of like yeah.
Bibbity bobbity boo.
Yes, exactly.
We've had incarnations of that for a couple of years, which is fun, but I don't think it's as widely used as it could be.
Yeah, fun is a good word, right? Like neat, but are you going to use it? Who the heck knows? Samsung's kind of the quintessential company that tries things like that.
But Samsung folks like that.
Sketch with.
What's that? Sorry.
So long as it's still good to sketch and create with, because the other thing with the Note, it's geared towards a lot of professionals, but it's also geared towards a lot of like artists and creators. It's like, I want to be able to use my phone to like sketch and do art while I'm on the go. Yeah. The Note has the really good pen to do that and there's no real alternative to that.
Yeah,
in any other ecosystem.
The S Pen has something like 4,000 some odd layers of sensitivity to it, so it's really stacked as far as the detail you can get out of that pen versus other solutions. So, and then micro SD card slot only on the Plus. So
only
I think
on the Plus. Only for the power users.
Only for the power user.
I mean,
that seems like a really weird omission for the small one.
It's like, nope, no expandable storage on the smaller one, but the big one, sure. So.
This is an interesting move. If this is, this is going to be an interesting move to have 2 Notes. This reminds me of many, many years ago when Samsung introduced, I believe maybe it was the Note 3 or the Note 4, but there were 2 different. That was the first year we had an edged Note. And
I think that was the Note 4. With the Galaxy Note Edge.
And there was the one that was just edged on one side, and there were 2 Notes that year. So you could get the special curved screen, or you could get the regular old flat one. And I remember that they were testing that out. So I wonder if this is another one of those situations where they're like, let's test it. Let's see if it's something that we can sell, that we can move numbers on and get people excited about. And maybe it's to help us all forget about the past transgressions of the Note.
Maybe. But as you were talking, it just reminded me. Wasn't that weird when they came out with the Edge and it was only curved on one side? Or is that just like now that feels weird? But I feel like it was kind of strange then, but
it was like a phone
new.
with a ski slope on it.
So bizarre.
Well, at the same time, since it was only sloped on one side, it was easier to hold on one side.
Yeah.
Which also for people like me who hold the phone on the left hand, the Note Edge was great because that meant that you had the edge on the other side if you were going to use your other hand for it. But if you're just one-handing it, it was easier to grip.
Yeah.
But I will say for 2 models, I'm not sure they're going to use the X55 Plus in both of them because I feel like that they're going to reserve that for the more powerful one since that would be the one that would be easier to tie in with 5G.
Right.
And I feel like the smaller one might
as
just
a
have
power. Like really solid as like power.
Yeah.
Like you just want the pen and the S Pen and all that can do. You can get the regular one. If you want 5G and all this other cool stuff, you're gonna have to get the Plus.
Interesting.
I wonder what the pricing will be for that because the Note 10s are already so expensive.
Yep.
Well, the S10 Plus is already $1,000, so you got to go up from there.
Yep. So 13, that feels high, but who the heck knows?
I'm hoping 1050 for the small one and 1200 for the big one.
Yeah, because they've got to leave some distance between that and the Fold if that ever comes back.
Well, those have to be the base because then you have to go up 100 to 150 for each of those storage increments.
Yeah, that's right. Man, getting expensive.
I know.
On the flip side, there's Android for feature phones, which is apparently looking to be a thing. We talked about it a little bit on the show in the past, but this would be a true competitor to KaiOS. There's a leak of what looks to be a Nokia-styled phone. It doesn't say Nokia anywhere on it, but it definitely looks like a Nokia phone. Supposedly running this new version of Android. And the leak is really a single screenshot. So what you're seeing here on the left is the leak, right? And the device on the right is a Nokia phone, but that's just there to kind of compare the layout and everything so that you can kind of see how similar to a Nokia phone that phone on the left is. But, so everyone's positing like, okay, well, A, Nokia feature phone running Android, and B, a feature phone version of Android. So a stripped down version of Android that requires a device that has no touchscreen. So as a result, it requires a device that has physical controls, some sort of like D-pad, shoulder button, functionality, number keys, that sort of stuff. So that's on the left. That's a feature phone version of Android, supposedly, and I'm sure we'll find out more. And where this would fit in. This might be in markets that spending $200 on a low end smartphone or spending on the data plans might be too much. But something like this might also give the user. Sure, it's not a touchscreen, but it would give the user the ability to do things like voice actions and that sort of stuff. Tap into Assistant as one example. So,
and Assistant would be the very big, like they at Google I/O they showed this demonstration where a woman used Google Assistant and Google Lens to have her to read her recipes because she didn't know how to read the language. And being able to bring that to feature phones would be a life-changing feature for millions of users.
That'd be amazing.
So I'm all for this. I want it to be real and I want it to be here. So bring it on.
Yep. Pretty cool stuff. So we'll hopefully we'll find out more about that as it becomes realer than just a fuzzy potato picture.
I also have to say, I hope that phones like that come to America because so far, even Android Go phones have been very hard to come by, and Android One phones. Android One phones are starting to trickle into America. Android Go phones still aren't really available stateside, but there is a market. Value. Yeah. We need budget phones too.
Yeah.
Not all of us want to spend $1,000 on a new phone. It took a lot of convincing to get my dad to buy a Pixel 3a at Prime Day.
Yeah, and that's even a cheap, in air quotes.
That was phone. But that was an unlocked phone that could use AT&T Wi-Fi calling. So that was what really sold it for him is, Microsoft's going out of the house. This will be able to do Wi-Fi calling.
Yeah, and it's a great phone. So
it is a great phone. If he bought it,
he ended up with a great phone. All right, Flo, you got the last one.
So we all know the name Unihertz around here. They created that tiny little Unihertz atom. Well, now they're readying a BlackBerry clone called the Unihertz Titan. I guess because there was so much buzz around the BlackBerry and its keyboard, maybe they're trying to piggyback on that. So this has a 4.5-inch LCD display, a physical QWERTY keyboard, physical navigation keys, a fingerprint sensor, as is standard these days, wireless charging, IP67 rated, which is okay, dual SIM, NFC, and a huge 6,000 milliamp battery, not just reserved for gaming phones, but miraculously, this is going to cost $219 with a $15 deposit. You can register and be notified when it's ready to ship if you're interested.
Unihertz. Yeah, so when Unihertz was just on Kickstarter, man, it was the Jelly phone. That's what it was.
Yeah, I bought I own the Jelly phone.
I do too. I never use it. I mean, I thought it was neat for what it was. I use it only for
photos because it's just it's such a cool like aesthetic. A tiny phone, but I don't actually use it.
I thought it would be cool from a personal music player that also just runs Android and can do anything Android could do perspective. But then I realized I don't actually need it. Like my phone is fine. I guess my life is adjusted around a larger device.
Running into with that microphone that used to only be connected, like you had to have another phone, but now you can use it as a dedicated phone.
Or the Palm.
Tiny.
Yes.
Yeah, the Palm, whatever it was. I feel like this is the same way.
Yeah.
But that's a physical keyboard and a 6,000 milliamp hour battery. That is a nerd phone.
And it looks exactly like
absolutely.
a BlackBerry of
a BlackBerry. Yeah, no, Jerry saw that and he had nothing, but he's like, ooh, I want to play with that. And now, I don't blame him. I never had a BlackBerry, but this looks nostalgic in all the right places.
It does. However, at the same time, it's a low cost device, right? It's a couple $100. It will live and die by the feel and performance of that keyboard. And something tells me in that price range, it might be kind of hard to dial in that keyboard to the degree that people who love that form factor might require. You know what I mean? Like BlackBerry had they just had a certain success in creating keyboards on their devices that were enjoyable to use, that actually were very functional and felt right and everything. And so just putting a hardware keyboard on your phone, that's a great step, but it better actually be enjoyable to use as well. And that remains to be seen on this. So certainly find out. All right. And now, I alluded to it earlier, it's time for the other kind of hardware, the kind that you wear. There we go. More specifically, the kind that Ara wears. Are you wearing your Mobvoi TicWatch Pro 4G right now? Yes, you are.
I am. I am wearing the 4G right now. I've been wearing it for a couple of weeks now. It's the second of the TicWatch Pros because I have the original one too. Actually, no, that's in the box right now. But yeah, I've been wearing TicWatches for, I want to say, a year and a half now. And I'm just still in love with the hybrid display, especially at the theme parks. Like, you will kill your battery checking your notifications all the time or checking how many steps you've been walking around Epcot and how many miles. Oh, I've walked 6 miles so far. Holy crap, it's not even dinner time yet. True story, I walked 6.6 miles both days this weekend, walking around the Magic Kingdom and Epcot playing Wizards United. And this watch was the watch that was tracking that for me.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's good. So you've had this for a little while now. You actually posted a review of this watch last week on AndroidCentral.com. Like, after using the original and then using this, the kind of the sequel, what would you say are some of the highlight improvements between the two watches?
It's double the RAM, and it feels a little bit faster when it's waking back up and when it's switching between apps, which I use Google Keep on my watch a lot when I'm grocery shopping, because checking your watch for your grocery list instead of having to pull out your phone between aisles is nice.
Yeah.
Very nice, especially when you're not pushing around a cart and just have the little hand basket. But I also like it because they've upgraded some of the tick health. Well, I think they call it tick. I think they expanded tick health and they have tick exercise now. So they've expanded some of that. And I haven't been doing as much quote unquote, regular exercising. I mostly just walk around theme parks and see how high my heart rate gets on roller coasters and just walking around in the heat. But I've enjoyed having the 24-hour heart rate tracking. I've enjoyed being able to walk around the parks when it's raining and really, really wet and not having to worry about this taking any damage, being able to be like, okay, the watch only has 50% battery, but I have, with the dual layer screen, it just sips battery. So I'll just put it into theater mode and just use the regular, the LCD display. So there, theater mode. And I just love the way that the display.
Oh yeah.
The LCD, like the retro display, but it's still tracking my steps. It's still tracking my heart rate, and it's giving me the time. And if I need my apps, I can just. Oops, that one. There we go.
There you go. Nice. And then you switch over, and in doing that, you end up getting basically the features that you're looking for when you're walking around, the tracking, step counting and all that, but you also get the battery benefits of the different display. That's great.
Yeah, because half the reason that I love wearing a watch around is for smart unlock for my phone.
Oh, okay.
Because my watch will keep my phone unlocked and my phone will keep my Chromebook unlocked.
It's a house of cards, really. Now, why did Mobvoi opt for last year's Wear 2100 instead of the newer Wear 3100 processor?
I don't know. I really wish they had upgraded to the new model. I think that for this model, they went with what they still knew, and it was easier for them to adapt and keep it in the same shape and keep it with most of the same specs, while still getting the 4G radios in there. So it was easier for them to work with what they already knew, because they've had, I think, 6 watches now with the Wear 2100.
Okay, so it's a known quantity at that point, but they would have gotten.
It's a known quantity for them.
It would have gotten even better battery performance, because that's one of the highlights of the 3100 as well.
I mean, it's 9:30 and I'm at 70%. So
still not shabby.
Wow. It sips. It very much sips battery life. Like, the only ways to kill the only ways that we've been able to kill this battery in like a single afternoon is when you use LTE and GPS at the same time. So if you're just using GPS, it'll run it down a little bit. If you're just using LTE, it'll run it down a little bit. But things don't get crazy unless you're using both at the same time for like a rigorous bike ride while streaming music.
Okay. And this is LTE on Verizon only, right? This doesn't use LTE on any of the other networks.
Yeah, it's Verizon only right now, so it's just Verizon LTE, and it's an eSIM. The number share is a great feature for this watch. I haven't personally been able to test it yet, but I've had coworkers who contributed on this review with me, and they've been able to use number share with it.
Okay.
And I feel like number share is the best use for LTE on a watch, period. Because I'm just going to the water park for the afternoon. I don't want to bring my phone with me and have it get wet. I'll just forward my calls to my watch and just take that.
That's great. I like that a lot. And you don't even have to worry about, keeping your phone at your, in a locker or at your towel or whatever, and hope that
you just have to bring Bluetooth. You just have to bring a waterproof headset for having your calls sound decent. Because I feel like even with, like, most people won't notice that much. They'll just think you're in an area with low connectivity. But at the same time, the Dick Tracy watch calls don't really have that much of a place in 2019.
Yeah. Even though they used to be the vision of the future.
So, yeah. But that vision of the future probably includes an earbud for
some sort. Yeah. That probably
because you don't want to just
a lot more
echoing.
sense. No, talking into your phone, your phone watch.
My social
they tried
security number is.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you
discreet?
discreet?
To get into the accounts, honey. Here it is.
There's no way to be discreet. That's for sure.
No.
So your full review is up at Android Central. Anyone that wants to read the full review of the Mobvoi TicWatch Pro 4G can do that. AndroidCentral.com. Awesome stuff. We had not had much about this watch on the show before, so I'm happy that you could talk about it.
I've enjoyed wearing it, and I'm going to enjoy wearing it for as long as they let me, because, battery and easy to read in the Florida sun.
Yeah, right on. All right, we've got a few stories and apps that we want to talk about, so that is right now. Starting where we usually start, Tinder. No, I'm not sure that we've ever started with Tinder, but there you go. What is Tinder doing?
Tinder, for those of you who don't know, which is an app for hooking up or finding love.
Air quotes around both of those.
I don't know. I never used it, but so it's bypassing. They've recently come into the news for bypassing Google Play payment options within the app in an effort to keep a larger slice of the revenue pie, which they earn through the app. Which, listen, I get it. I mean, yeah. So
how much money do people spend in Tinder?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I mean, I know it's a Match.com property, or at least I think it's Match Group.
Match Group, yeah.
But it can't be that much to try and hook up with people. Like, that can't be something that costs that much money to run.
I would have assumed that Tinder, like all other social networks, well, Tinder's not really a social net. Well, yeah, it is. I've never, okay.
It's a dating website. It's a dating website without any actual dating.
But is it a dating website that you pay for? I guess other dating websites you probably pay for. So why wouldn't you pay for Tinder? I don't know. Oh, okay. So, all right. So people in the chat room who know more than we do about Tinder are speaking up. We'll leave names out of it. Tinder charges for premium features, whatever premium features happen to be. Tinder Plus costs $10 monthly. Unless you're 30 or older, then it's $20.
Wow. Ageism. Wow.
That is an interesting.
Wow.
That is an interesting asterisk to that. Okay. All right, so I don't know how to turn that one around in my mind, but anyways, okay. So
I'm just thankful I'm never gonna have to deal with that as an ace. That's awesome.
So what they're doing here is they're doing what Fortnite did, or what Epic Games did by
bypass the 15% fee for using the Google Play payment option. So they want that 15%.
Give me all your money.
15% of the $20 they charged for us 30s and over.
Yeah, right. They want every single penny.
We just want to find love on this lonely planet.
From us old people. I guess it's a little different because Epic Games did not even bring Fortnite to the Play Store at all. They released it independently.
Fortnite did its own installer, which wasn't as secure. There's a difference there. They're still putting their app through Google Play, so the app is still secure. It's just, we want to run our own payment system outside of Google. Right. Which I'm a little bit more okay with, but I still am just like, really, guys, it's
an inconvenience.
As a user,
it's an inconvenience to you, but it's an inconvenience to you. But you're also hosting your app somewhere that it is secure for your users, which I applaud them for keeping it there, because I also think that Tinder wouldn't have been able to keep an app in. I wouldn't think that they'd be able to keep it secure if they weren't distributing it through Google Play.
Yeah, or at least the perception of it. And Google does a great job of making sure that the apps in Google Play are secure for the most part. Outside of those occasional stories that I feel like I see every week of like, this group of apps, found a new type of malware, but blah, blah, blah.
They're usually some very dubious apps.
That is true. That is indeed true. Hopefully these are the apps that we don't bring into the arena week after week. I don't think they are. But
has Tinder ever been in the arena?
I don't. Well, we have a tool for looking this up.
I know we've got plenty of others to talk about, but we're both going to Arena Search.
We're doing it right now. We're going to our Arena Search tool, and TINDER. No, it does not appear that Tinder has ever been brought into the arena.
Okay.
So just putting that out there
for anyone. It's a limited use case.
Someone along the line is going to come to the All About Android and be so like not have any sort of app pick and be like, I don't know what to. Well, that's not in there. Okay,
there's a freebie for anybody out there
exactly.
who is watching the show, and
whether you win or not with Tinder, that's a whole other question. But there you go. Now, is it against Google's terms of service for apps that are in the Play Store to not use the Play Store payment mechanism?
I would think not.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so
I don't think
then they're not breaking any rules.
I don't think so, because if they had, they would have been. If they were breaking any rules, Google would have removed them.
Well, that was kind of one of my questions. Was like, is Tinder so big and so high profile that Google might not remove them if they're breaking the rules?
No, I don't think Google would have caught that much flack for removing an app that was violating terms of service.
Yeah,
I mean, they've pulled, Facebook has had its apps pulled by Apple in this year. I don't think they would catch that much flack for pulling an app for violating terms of service.
Yeah.
Especially because, it's Tinder.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
And it's a revenue thing. I mean, that would be
whatever
really
the premium features are. How many adults are willing to how many adults would be willing to pay $10 a month for them?
I don't know. Big question mark.
I'm sure there are tens of millions, but still.
Someone in chat said, brought up a really good point. If a guest brings Tinder to the arena, they need to be in studio so as not to sully my phone. Because if a guest is on, then I have to install the app and show it off, and that's I appreciate the sentiment, cousin of John. I appreciate that. That's a good point.
That's when you do a screen recording, and then just play it back on the phone instead of actually using it.
There we go. Because you never know what you're gonna find. All right.
Who might find you?
Yes, right. Live in real time. Finally, something a little less. Well, YouTube Music is creeping along, but it finally got options to default to playing songs without video. This is a concern that we talked about on the show. It's like, I want my music player to just be a music player. I don't care about the video aspects of things. I want the songs to sound as good as they possibly can. Well, apparently, YouTube Music has added a couple of features. There's a tap on a song page or whatever. When you're playing a song, there will be a little switch up at the top that you can tap to play either the song or the video. So you can select and you can turn it off of video if you don't want to see the video. But I think the feature that I like is the setting in the settings that you can tick that says do not play music videos at all. And so it will automatically always switch to audio, which for me, with an audio, with a music app, that's what I would want. I just wanted to play the music. I don't care about the video. So I think that's better, but I don't know. Is anyone feeling positive about the transition from Play Music to YouTube Music at this stage?
Using it.
I've been using YouTube Music heavily just because I was a heavy Google Play Music user, and I'm still eagerly awaiting my library getting ported over from GPM to YouTube Music. But I'm willing to bet we're still 9 to 12 months out from that. Right now, because we just don't have the feature parity, and we don't have the library management that we need for it, and we need that before you can have the migration.
It's weird.
We still don't have the upload mechanism either, and we need the upload mechanism for YouTube Music before we can have before or when we have migration, because the music locker is going to remain part of the service.
Yeah,
and that's a very important part of the service for somebody like me, who I've got a lot of music that you can't buy and you can't stream, so you had to have it already. So.
Yeah. Weird that we are where we are at with YouTube Music, considering they made the announcement as far back as they did about the, impending doom of Google Play Music.
And here's the strange thing. They never made an actual official announcement about that. There's never been an official announcement saying, oh yeah, this project is replacing that. Was a YouTube Music. Yeah, it was a YouTube Music, except one of the team leads or managers for it mentioned it while they were doing press for.
Oh, okay, I see.
So it was mentioned, and then everybody ran with it.
Right, but it was mentioned by someone at Google. So
yeah,
to a certain degree,
it's at Google and by the YouTube Music team. They've continued to say, a eventual migration to that service, but we have to have feature parity first, and we don't have it.
Right. Okay. So they just haven't made the official announcement.
This is why people who use regular people who use Android have no idea what's going on ever.
Yeah. Totally.
And I mean, they don't really need to know until Google Play Music stops coming with phones. I just want Google Play Music to stop being the default player, because whenever I set up a new phone, I have to immediately go and disable Google Play Music before it gets authorized on my account, because you can only have 10 devices with Google Play Music. YouTube Music, it'll only authorize it if you download music, but Google Play Music, it'll authorize it the second you open anything in that app.
Yep.
So I got to disable it the second I set up a phone. And I want to stop having to do that.
Yeah, well, you do know that you can call in. Of course, you can't call Google. Well, no, that's how I've done it.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, now that I think about it, that's how I've done it. You can call them and you can negotiate.
It depends on who you talk to, though, because I've had to do that several times.
Right, it's a big pain in the butt, but yes, it is possible. Shouldn't have to, but there you go. All right, and now it's an arena that does not include Tinder, as far as I know. It's time for the arena.
So many enter.
Not this week, anyways.
Android Arena.
Last week, you went to twit.to/AAA poll 429 and you placed your vote. And then when you placed your vote, you did not see the results because we're trying something out to try and keep... Yes, this is what you saw. You placed your vote, and then it said results for this poll have been set to private. And I so wish that we could keep it open, but dang it, somebody likes to play games on the polls.
Somebody messed it up for everyone.
So we're trying this now, and next to that link in the doc is the actual screenshot from last week's thing. A little bit harder to resize, apparently, but there we go. There's the information. And guest wins with the app Windy. That was Patrick Norton was on last week. He brought the app Windy, which I have to say was a really cool weather app. That wins at 58.6% of the vote. Second place was my app Fluid Simulation at 26.2%. And then Voice Pop was Ron's app at 15%. And that is the results. Wade County has the tabulations at this point through week 28. And thank you, Wade County, for doing that. Flo, you are still in the lead at 86. Even with a week off, you're still in the lead at 86. Guests, so Ara, you fall into this category. You're close. No pressure or anything, 82. Ron is third place at 58, and I'm close to Ron at 56. So basically, Ron and I are fighting to see who isn't coming in last. And Flo and guests are fighting who's coming in first. This is how it goes.
I'm always up for a little friendly competition.
That is what the arena is all about. So let's see here. So Ron was the loser, but he's not on.
Do we have to use words like loser?
Yeah, no, you're right. I'll use that when I lose because I think it's funny, but I won't apply that to anyone else. Flo, you were out. I can never remember if that means you go first or second. I know Ara
I think
goes.
that means didn't you wait? Did you say you won?
I was
last
second.
week?
I was second.
You were second.
Behind the guest.
So then you would probably go last,
Okay.
actually, since you were the second one. Ara would go second, and I suppose I would go first since I missed last week.
All right.
Loser always goes first.
All right. I'm happy because we don't want to do this out of order. It would be totally unfair, and it would give someone.
We try to have a way that we do these things. We try to be organized. You know, we don't want to be chaotic.
I love it. I love it. All right. So I've got your app installed. I'll show it off while you talk about it, Flo.
All right. So I just brought an app for fun this week. I really like to do silly things with my phone. I like to make memes of myself and people I admire. I like to figure out whatever I can do with it. And the thing is, Google is suggesting these apps to me constantly. So that's why they come across my way. Today, I am bringing an app called Background Eraser, which you may be wondering why, to which I say, why not?
Yes.
Now, you remember back in the day when you would try to cut something out in Photoshop? Well, this is exactly what this app does.
Oh, okay.
Now, I'm just going to go ahead and start with a caveat, which is that there are ads here. I have not found a way to get rid of the ads. I've written the developer and asked them to please let me send them some money so I can get rid of the ads. It's possible maybe I just haven't dug the feature out yet.
I looked for it. I couldn't find it either.
Yeah. However, you know what? It works. So I'm not complaining about this. So, Jason, if you would please load a photo.
Okay, I'll load a photo. It was of the OnePlus 7 Pro on a table.
Now, I've done some harder cutouts, which I will show you one that I did before the end of our app here. But this one, so Jason, make it a little easier on yourself and shrink down the canvas size.
Okay.
Then click done. So you cropped it. Now you can go in and extract.
Okay.
So you have the manual on. So go ahead and put your finger on the screen where you want to. Yeah. So here's the thing about it. Now be careful because let me explain why. Because the cursor is actually a little bit off from your finger, where you're placing your finger.
Yeah.
Because when you're erasing when you're cutting out an object, you want to give yourself a little bit of buffer. So you see that when you zoom in.
Oh, I see.
That's really, it's actually really helpful to do that because if you're using your fingers, it could actually be quite hard. But if you're using a stylus, then you can move the cursor a little closer. And I actually was using this app with a stylus and found it so much easier with that. But I mean, it really is just run-of-the-mill erasing, creating negative space. There's also an auto mode. So if you want to once you're finished there, you want to very quickly hit the little auto button on the bottom.
Uh-huh.
And I believe when you hit a point on the background that you want to delete, it will immediately, it's kind of like on Photoshop where it looks for it. And it's not always perfect.
Right. You've got a threshold that you can dial in.
It can help you with
there we go.
Get rid of the background. And then you would go in with the manual and kind of make it a little better. And there's an undo. So don't forget to undo if you feel like. So actually, the little undo button is right next. Yeah, there it is. So if accidentally do too much, and there's also a magic mode, which is supposed to help you. It's supposed to help you like do it by chunks, a little easier.
Undo.
But I prefer the manual mode.
Well, actually, okay. So what magic mode seems to be doing is it's detecting the edge as I'm going over it. So I don't know if you can see this like rough stuff from the table down here, but it's actually detecting the edge of the phone as I travel over.
You're
so that's
having
actually
an
really
easier
cool.
time with it because you're doing a phone on a plain background.
Yes.
So Victor, if you wouldn't mind queuing up the link that I sent, I had a hard time with this photo. This is Celine Dion on a bird scooter wearing a spiked choker and riding the scooter in heels.
Of course.
Celine Dion is.
We've all been out on the street and seen Celine Dion like this.
Listen, she's my queen. And I made a sticker out of this so I can like insert it into WhatsApp or into Hangouts, like just so I can send this to my friends because it brings me great joy. And I had a hard time using that particular feature on this because behind her was like all these people because she was doing it at a stadium. But that's what I was able to do with background eraser. So if anybody would like that picture, it's on my website. You can download it and use it for your own silliness. But that's background eraser. It's extremely straightforward. Very special use case for this sort of app. But, I found that I want to be able to do photo editing with my phone. And so I try to find apps that can help me in a pinch. And I think that if I needed to do this, extract an object from a photo, that this would be really helpful way to do it. So
see,
background eraser.
I'm like pro of the auto mode now. Oh yeah, that's a much better edge. Cool. This is I just closed that ad. Oh, that's all you had to do. There we go. It's called background eraser, and it erases backgrounds. That's what it does. That's why it's called that.
Yes.
Good pick.
That's all it does.
For erasing backgrounds in your photos, choose background eraser. All right, Ara, I have your app installed. I'll show it off while you talk about it.
Alrighty, so my pick is another weather app. Sorry, I probably should have picked something that wasn't weather app since that was what the guest had last week. But I've actually been enjoying this app. This was something that was pitched to me on Twitter, and once I installed it, I've actually kind of liked it with the timeline feature. So this is Appy Weather, which cute name, has a nice splash animation, and then I love the dark theme for this app. And also, if you click on later, it'll bring up a the later the 55. Yeah. Yep. And then you have this little timeline, and it'll have the icons, and then at the bottom of the screen you see temperature, feels like, and it'll show precipitation. Scroll back up to the timeline, and now look at the very bottom of your screen. Temperature. Feels like
got it. Okay.
So now if you tap on precipitation, it'll show you the rain chances, which probably don't mean flat. Gotta love California. But I live in Florida where it rains every day, so I'll see this little timeline, and I'll be able to see the little spikes throughout the day. But you have these different. You can go through these different metrics and see how your day is going to shape up. I've also loved the notification in the morning. It's like, okay, it's going to be it's going to be partly cloudy today, and then the rain's going to start around late afternoon or early evening. High temperature is going to be like this. It's going to feel like this. So it's been a solid weather app for me, and it doesn't have radar, which is a tiny little ding against it, but that's not a ding for me considering I use Radar Scope, which is a professional grade radar app. So for my weather app, I really just need temperature, precipitation, temperature forecast, and precipitation outlook. But yeah.
And go ahead and switch to the dark mode. There we go.
Dark theme now. Dark theme forever.
Got it.
So yeah. Gotta love a good dark theme for a weather app.
Powered
It's nice
by
and it's easily laid out. It's easy to scroll through. So
yeah,
I like it, especially because if you have multiple locations, it's easy to tap between them. I also kind of love that I could set the Magic Kingdom as a location in here, as opposed to most places just let you set like Bay Lake or Orlando or Kissimmee.
Right.
So I wake up and I open my Appy Weather, and it says weather at the Magic Kingdom. Aww.
And you're like, I'm going there later.
I'm going there later and getting me a Peter Pan float.
Right on. So this is Appy Weather. And
this is a relative newcomer. It's only been out for a couple of months now. It pulls its data from dark sky, so it's very reliable. I like it. I've been enjoying it a lot the last few weeks, especially with the precipitation and temperature graphs.
Nice. All right, so Appy Weather. Go to the Play Store, look for Appy Weather, and you will find it. Get your dark mode on if that is your preference. I quite like dark mode.
Darky.
So let's see here. This is one of those apps that I'm like, crossing my fingers it works because it worked for me earlier. We'll certainly find out. My app is called Notify Buddy. And Notify Buddy is an app where if you are a big fan of the notification light, but your phone doesn't have it, and your phone happens to have an AMOLED display, so arguably this does not apply for every device out there, but you've got an AMOLED display like the OnePlus 7 Pro that I have here, and it does not have a notification light anywhere on the device, you can use Notify Buddy to simulate a notification light. And so setup is a little detailed. Here, I'll just open up the app to kind of show the app layout here. Setup, there's a few things that you need to do. You need to go into your settings. If you have an ambient display setting on your phone, you need to disable that. You need to bypass doze mode adjustments for the app because they're going to want to push this app out of functioning at all if your device is kind of dormant. So you got to disable that. And you have to enable draw over permission and notification listener services for the app so that it knows when a notification is coming in. Once you've done all that, you can go into Notification Buddy or Notify Buddy, and you can select, these are user installed apps, of course. There are also system apps in here, but you can select all the apps that you want to receive a notification light on your device when something comes through. And I can go over to Active and I can show you, I've got Gmail, Play Store messages, my Ring doorbell, Smart Life, Twitter. These are all apps that if something comes in, I will end up, and my display is off, I will end up getting a little notification light up at the very top corner, and it'll be simulated through the AMOLED display. So let's see if I can trigger this. What I did earlier is I went to the Play Store, I went into Dr. Mario World, and I installed it, and then I turned off my display. And I'm waiting for it to install because once it installs, then I'll get a notification that it was installed. And if everything is working properly, once that is installed, I'm going to keep saying words longer as I wait for the light to appear. And
you picked a game. It might take a little longer to download for that.
Man, when I did this earlier, it downloaded in like a second. But you're right. I should have picked something smaller. Now I'm at that weird point where I'm like, does it take more time for me to go in and install something else? Or do I just wait? And then now I'm just worrying that it's not working.
Do you have a watch paired to that phone? You could check whether or not the notification dinged on your watch and then look at your screen.
I don't, but I'm going to turn it on because, you know what? I do not
You're
disturb.
in D&D mode.
I'm in D&D mode. So that makes sense. All right. So let me uninstall that. We're going to do this again. Okay. I don't have any notifications up there. I'm just going to do this because I know it was whatever. It won't take very long. All right. So now I'm not in do not disturb mode. That makes a whole lot of sense. And you see it. There it is. It's a notification light on a phone that has no notification light. And so that's what Notify Buddy is all about. You can set it up. That way when my display is off, I'll get that little light. And because it's an AMOLED, it's not lighting up the whole panel. It's just lighting up those pixels. So from a battery perspective, it's probably not too hard on the battery, although you did disable doze mode in order to make this happen. So, keep that in mind.
Does the app have a auto off after a certain while? Like it's only going to it's only going to pulse for 5 minutes or something?
Well, that is a good question. Let's go into settings and see what we have here. LED animation time. So you time taken for the LED timer to complete one blink interval, time after which the LED blinks again, and then the stop timer, which sounds like what you're talking about. Time after which LED stops after receiving a notification. So this is 30 minutes. So it would blink for 30 minutes in this setting, and then it would stop with the notification blinking for me. You can also set it up so that it stops while in Do Not Disturb mode, which is what I had activated, which is why I didn't see it. I was in Do Not Disturb mode, basically. So anyways, that's the app. If you like having a notification light, but you don't have one on your device and you have an AMOLED display, then you should check it out. It's Notify Buddy, and it is free. So go to the Play Store and install it, and you can kind of customize like the color of the notification light that comes on as well. So you can get a little customized with it. Notify Buddy. All right. It is time for you to work. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to put you to work because we're going to ask you to vote. twit.to/AAA poll 430 is where you can go to place your vote for your favorite app this week. Is it Background Eraser? Is it Appy Weather or Notify Buddy? That's twit.to/AAA poll 430. Place your vote. And which one did you vote for? I missed it. Background Eraser gets Victor's vote.
Thanks, Victor.
He has some serious plans of erasing some backgrounds. Later on tonight, that's what the Victor's going to be doing.
Yes, and a lot of them involve Burke.
No, if it involves Burke, you need to be erasing the foreground if it's a Burke picture. Just kidding, Burke. I love you. That is it. We've reached the end. Ara, it's been an honor and a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for carving out time from when you would probably be watching fireworks. Let's be honest.
Yeah. It's fun to be here and invade this podcast with all things Disney and phone grips and other fun things.
Yes. Well, we appreciate having you on. It's been a delight. Tell people where they can find you online. Obviously, AndroidCentral.com is where you write. You're on Twitter. Where do you want people to follow you?
I would be on Twitter. That's the social network that I'm mostly on. But yeah, if you want to find me, come find me on Android Central.
Excellent. You've got all the things.
I have all the things. It's a one-bedroom apartment. Everything is close by.
Right. Everything is within reach.
Everything.
And a Chromebook or 4 or, yeah. Ara Wagco on Twitter as well if you want to find Ara on Twitter and follow her writing there. Thank you, Ara. We'll have you back soon. It would be great to have you back. And Flo, what's up with you? What's going on in your world, in the Flow feed?
Where do we start?
Yeah.
Okay, so Flow feed, I'm scaling back. FlorenceIon.com is now just an update place where you can find out latest articles that I'm posting across the web, things what apps I've brought to the arena. I'm still posting that weekly, so it helps me kind of outline why I'm bringing the apps, so I can better explain them to you. But beyond that, I'm going to be shifting my focus towards some other projects, which you will find out in the fall. So until then, just follow me at FlorenceIon.com. Follow me on Twitter at OhThatFlow and on Instagram at OhThatFlow. And if you haven't joined my Discord and you're thinking of coming into a safe and nice community where we talk about tech, Pokemon, and my life, there is a link for that floating around my website. And also, I rarely ever mention this, but there is another podcast that I do that posts on Thursdays with Andy and Notco. It's called The Material Podcast, and it's on the Relay FM network. And I'm just really proud of it. So please come give us a listen if you haven't already. Andy and I go real deep on Google. So real deep.
Real deep.
Real deep.
It's funny. I was going to mention it if you didn't mention it today. So I'm happy that you mentioned it.
I gotta mention it because I'm proud of it, darn it. So
you should
tune in if you have time.
You should be proud of it. Flo, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Also to you, Victor. Always a pleasure to have you pushing the buttons of the show.
Oh, no problem. I too hope one of these days I can go to Disney World.
One day we will all make it.
I'm pushing the buttons for shows. I'm a former newscast director, so thank you, Victor. I appreciate your work.
But
it's not always easy.
Disney World is more fun, though, right?
I think it is. I am filling in for Leo on most of his shows this week. He is
Yes, you are.
of town. So, I was on Security Now earlier today. Tomorrow I'm on Windows Weekly. And this week in Google, and that's really kind of it. Thursday I do Tech News Weekly, everything. But these 3 shows I'm helping out on, and it's fun to kind of see the whirlwind that is Leo's show after show after show sort of life. So that's what I'm doing this week. If you want to find that, this and all other shows, just twit.tv. You'll find them all there. You already know that. But that is it for this week. Leave us a voicemail, 347-SHOW-AAA. Send us emails at AAA@twit.tv. Find us on Twitter. We are at Android Show. You can find our Arena apps list. Every app that we've reviewed in the Arena can be found at twit.to/Android apps. And thanks to the folks that keep that up to date. You can also find our show notes and past episodes at twit.tv/AAA. There you're going to find everything you need to know about this show. All of our episodes, like I said, the times that we record live every Tuesday starting at 5 p.m. Pacific at twit.tv/live. And that information is there as well. Information on all the stories from each episode, links to the apps that we review in the Arena, everything. twit.tv/AAA. Thanks also to Jeff, who's helping out here in the studio earlier. Thanks to you for watching. We'll see you next week on another episode of All About Android. Bye, everybody. See you later.